Fortunately, we didn't have much stuff, so Jonah packed up for a whole day. And then we moved to his house. His house was as clean and tidy as I had imagined. I leaned over the doorway of his bedroom, and the scent of oranges drifted into my nose through the half-open window, fragrant and pleasant. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Why are you standing there? Come in. Jonah patted my head from behind, and I happily jumped onto his bed, which was soft and comfortable. Jonah lay down beside me, having been busy all day and feeling a little tired without realizing it. Take a break. I moved my head slightly in the soft pillow, holding Jonah's slightly rough hand, and entered dreamland. When I woke up again, it was already dark outside. The bedside lamp in the bedroom was turned on. And in the dim light, Jonah was still working on his laptop. Seeing me wake up, he quickly closed the computer and unplugged the USB drive. Then he brought over a bowl of silver ear soup from the bedside table. It was still warm. After drinking the soup, I fell back into a deep sleep. The next day, Jonah was nowhere to be found by the bed. For 3 consecutive days, I took out the 3 meals a day that Jonah had prepared in advance from the refrigerator according to the recipe he left on the fridge. The meals were tasteless and bland. I missed Jonah a lot, but I had no idea where he went. There wasn't a single missed call on my phone. I planned to go out and look for him, and even thought about going to the police station to report a missing person. But can I trust the police when they can't even find the criminals who kidnapped me? I walked out of the door in confusion. When I reached the entrance of an alley, someone suddenly pulled me into a car. When I woke up again, I was lying in my room's bed. To be precise, it was my room in Mercer family's house. The room was dark, and moonlight shone through the window, revealing a figure sitting in the darkness, staring at me. Ah! I was scared and hid under the covers. The person quickly turned on the lights and came over to comfort me. Erica, I just wanted you to have a good night's sleep. I'm sorry for scaring you. His voice was like a demon's, and I hesitated to pull down the covers, feeling a chill all over my body. Mr. Mercer. Hubert pulled down the covers, looking somewhat hurt. Erica, didn't you used to call me Hubert? I shook my head, hoping you would stay away from me. My chest felt like it was being crushed, making it hard to breathe. I can't do it anymore. I won't bother you anymore, Mr. Mercer. I remembered this sentence day and night. This sentence that would spare me from being beaten. Hubert seemed to be somewhat emotional too. His eyes were red, trying to control himself. Erica, I'm sorry. I didn't know that delaying the ransom payment would cause you so much harm. They promised me it wouldn't happen. What wouldn't happen? What wouldn't they do? Wouldn't they hit me? He could have saved me. I didn't want to remember those things, but someone always made me recall them over and over again. Hubert seemed to already know what I had been through, but I just wanted to know where Jonah had gone. Do you know where Jonah is? Hubert grabbed my wrist, his tone forceful yet pleading. Erica, forget about him. Let's start over. Okay? Upon hearing this sentence, I could no longer control myself. I stood up and pushed him away. My waist hit the corner of the table in the dimly lit room. Erica! I knelt down, just like that day when Hubert came to pick me up and I was in his car. Mr. Mercer, please give Jonah back to me. He's all I have left, I beg you, please. Hubert wanted to come and hug me. Erica, you have a wound on your knee. Get up and talk, can you? I avoided his hand and resisted frantically. He's all I have. Don't you want me to die? Don't touch him. I'll go and die. I will. Hubert broke down, shaking his head in sorrow. Erica, I never want you to die. How could I let you die? Bang. I smashed the vase on the table and picked up the shards, pressing them against my own throat. Where is Jonah Kenyon? Hubert's eyes filled with despair. Erica, I really don't know. Don't move, don't hurt yourself. I paused, understanding what was going on. So, you don't believe that I will die? Doctor! Hubert shouted. The doctor and the bodyguard rushed in at the same time, restraining me. Hubert took the opportunity to take the sharp ceramic shards from my hand. A tranquilizer was injected, and I instantly lost all strength and emotions. The private doctors busily bandaged the cuts on Hubert's hand. "I'm fine, go check on Erica." "Mr. Mercer, don't worry, Miss Hector only has a superficial flesh wound. A minor injury, the doctor simply wrapped a few layers of gauze. But Miss Hector has severe emotional trauma and needs proper treatment." "I understand, thank you." After busy for a while, there were only the two of us, me and Hubert Mercer, left in the room. I lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, my consciousness seemingly floating outside my body. Seeing me like this, Hubert almost choked up. "Erica, please give me a chance to make amends. I will compensate you well." That tranquilizer seemed to be very effective, a calm heart that could overcome any terrifying memories. Compensate. Yes, compensate. How will you compensate? Let me think. Hubert seemed to see hope and excitedly held my hand. I was kidnapped for 3 months. At first, they thought I was valuable and treated me well. They just scared me every day, saying that if they didn't get the money, they would leave my body in the wilderness. Oh, by the way, at that time, they would throw me half a white steamed bun to eat every day, but I couldn't eat it. But I didn't expect that soon I wouldn't even have this kind of white steamed bun to eat. Later, they called you and asked me to scream more miserably. What did you say? You said something unpleasant, that if they had something to say, they should find your secretary. After hanging up the phone, not long after, one of them kicked me in the stomach, and I fell to the ground with the chair. Gradually, they became more unscrupulous and realized that it didn't matter if they treated a young lady like me this way, as no one would care. So they punched and kicked me every day, and if anything went wrong, they took it out on me. I saw Hubert's body start to tremble. Can he not bear it anymore? What should I do next? Later on, they couldn't get the money and slowly lost patience. Whips, steel needles, clubs, and even the curling iron I had in my bag that day. After being electrified, it burned on my skin, and I could smell the burnt scent. With each word I said, Hubert became even more devastated. He almost dared not look at me, but also feared that I would disappear in an instant, torn between contradiction and agony. But I didn't care. Why bother pretending to be sympathetic? Erica, why didn't you wait for me to pick you up? Tell me, who are they? I would have killed them. I tilted my head and said with a fake smile. The ransom hasn't been paid yet, you know? They said they were going to kill me. Did you know that at that time, I actually thought, finally I can be free? I could even see my parents' faces, waiting for me over there. But they told me to live well. I don't know where I got the strength, but I managed to escape. It was a forest, then farmland, and then a highway. I slept under the rain shelter, in the trees, eating leaves and drinking rainwater. If I was lucky, I could come across a garbage dump and eat some of the things those people usually gave me, the spoiled food. So, after walking for several days and nights, tens of kilometers, I returned to you. And you said one thing to me, you smell bad. Ridiculous, isn't it? Hubert couldn't hold on any longer and knelt on the ground. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with despair as he looked at me. Erica, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't know about the ransom. I didn't know you came back like this. Hubert, can you experience what I have been through with Dana? You can't compensate me, but I forgive you. Really? Hubert couldn't believe it, trembling as he grabbed my hand. Really, as long as you give Jonah back to me. That night, Hubert stood by my bed for a long time. His eye sockets were sunken, showing the hardships he had endured. He still claimed that he didn't know where Jonah was, so I didn't want to talk to him anymore.
Until his phone rang, he tucked the corner of the blanket for me and left with a lonely figure. I stayed in the Mercer family's residence and couldn't go out. The psychologist would come to my room for treatment every day. The doctor was a beautiful woman. She never asked about my past, but instead told me interesting stories every day. Later, I was willing to trust her and took the initiative to talk to her, asking if she had a lover. She said yes and showed me the diamond ring on her hand, happily saying that they were going to get married soon. I congratulated her and told her about my situation with Jonah. She expressed her relief. That night, I sat by the bed and looked at the moon for a long time. Subconsciously, I wondered if Jonah had contacted me, only to remember that my phone had been confiscated long ago. So I could only gaze at the moon. As I looked, I pushed open the window and jumped down. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital was unpleasant. I woke up with a headache, feeling like my whole body was falling apart. The argument outside the ward grew more intense and gradually reached my ears. No wonder Erica has been distant from us since she came back. She must have thought we abandoned her. Hubert, how could I have such a ruthless child like you? How could I explain it to her dead mother and father? Dad, Mom, I didn't expect this either. I just wanted her to behave. A crisp slap, followed by a few muffled groans from Hubert. I thought it was Uncle Mercer hitting him again, but it wasn't until I heard Aunt Mercer's exclamation. Assistant Jonah. It was Jonah. I tried to get out of bed but ended up falling to the ground. Oh, turns out my leg is broken. The room in the Mercer mansion where I stayed was only 2 stories high, so jumping from the top wouldn't kill anyone. Hearing the commotion, Jonah rushed in from outside. His face was weathered, with stubble growing on his chin, as if he hadn't shaved in days. I casually picked up a piece of fruit from the bedside and threw it at him. Despite being hit, Jonah's expression was tense and worried. He hurried over and lifted me back onto the bed. Aunt Mercer called for a doctor. After a brief examination, the doctor said to them, "The patient should not get out of bed for the next half month. There is already irreversible damage to the knee, and any further movement will jeopardize the leg." It was clear that the doctor was a bit angry. Jonah quickly apologized in a kind and polite manner, saying it would never happen again. The doctor glanced strangely at the people surrounding me and said to me, "If you need help or legal assistance, just come to me directly." After speaking, he went out to check on other patients. Well, with the injuries on my body, it's inevitable that people would think that way. Jonah came up and hugged me, covered in dust. I pushed him away, and then Aunt Mercer came and hugged me. This time I didn't dare push her away. "My dear Erica, you've suffered. It's all Auntie's fault. I didn't teach my son well." I comforted her. "It's okay, Aunt Mercer. It's all in the past." Hubert stood silently in the corner of the hospital room, full of guilt. He didn't expect that I would jump from the room. "Hubert, kneel down for Erica," Uncle Mercer ordered. Hubert obediently walked over. I looked to Jonah for help, and he pulled Hubert up. "Erica can't take it anymore." "Yes, Uncle Mercer. The Mercer family has taken care of me for so long. This time, let me repay the Mercer family." Upon hearing this, Aunt Mercer cried even louder. "Erica, are you trying to distance yourself from us?" I shook my head. "It's not about distancing myself from them, but from Hubert. Uncle Mercer, I was foolish before and caused you trouble. My parents passed away a long time ago. Thank you for raising me. In my heart, you are like my own parents." Uncle Mercer couldn't help but shed tears as he came over and patted my hand. "It's the Mercer family who owes you an apology." After saying a few more words, Hubert's parents left, saying they would let me rest and come back to see me tomorrow. Hubert stood outside the door, reluctant to leave. "Erica, we can never be together again, can we?" Upon hearing this, Jonah wanted to go up and hit him, but I held him back. "Yes. 7 years have been too difficult, Hubert." In a person's life, how many 7 years are there? After being discharged from the hospital, Jonah took me to the police station. With his help, all the criminals who kidnapped me were caught. Hey, I heard that after retiring, Jonah joined a wealthy family as a bodyguard. Why is he returning to his old profession now? Oh, didn't you hear? Jonah caught the eye of a wealthy young lady, and as a result, that young lady was kidnapped. Erica couldn't help but fight for love. As the person involved, I sat outside the corridor eating the mung bean cake that Jonah bought for me while listening to my own gossip. "Miss, why are you sitting here alone? Where are your family members?" I pointed inside the room. Jonah came out with a dark face. The 2 police officers stood at attention. "Jonah, you two stop spreading rumors all day long." Jonah pulled me up from the chair. The police officers widened their eyes, witnessing the transformation of me into Jonah's girlfriend. "Why not spread the news? I think it sounds good." After retiring, Jonah participated in this case as an act of bravery for the citizens. After completing the mission report, he even received a title. He felt a little embarrassed. After all, he had some ulterior motive. Why feel embarrassed? After doing such a thing, you should be included in our family records. Jonah held an umbrella for me as we bought groceries and headed home. "Does your Hector family still have family records?" "Yes." "Well then, you must include this matter. Otherwise, I'll offer incense to your parents tonight." Writing a letter is too slow. After Jonah came back, he spent a long time coaxing me. When I found out that he had received a sudden task from the police and didn't have time to wake me up, he hurriedly put on his clothes and left. I was still scared afterwards. He said, fortunately, there was a week's worth of food in the refrigerator, and he would be back in a week. But he didn't expect that I would go out to find him and be brought back to the Mercer residence by Hubert. Before dinner, I curled up on the sofa, holding my ID card in one hand and checking my phone with the other. In the kitchen, Jonah was cutting vegetables and chatting loudly with me. Dana has been arrested, and the court has filed a lawsuit against her. Hubert is suspected of intentional homicide and may also be summoned for questioning. Alright, I will write a letter of understanding at that time. I don't know when, but the sound of cutting vegetables in the kitchen stopped. And Jonah came behind me and suddenly hugged me. Your letter of understanding. Why don't you understand and forgive me? I glared at him, and Jonah apologetically admitted his mistake. I checked the almanac. Tomorrow is a good day. Jonah found my missing slippers from the bedroom and brought them to the sofa for me to wear. So, it's auspicious for marriage. Alright. I kicked him. What alright? Tomorrow bring your ID card and go with me to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Suddenly, Jonah stood up straight, happy like a puppy, hugged me tightly, and rubbed against me vigorously. I knew it, you're the best to me. On the day we received our marriage certificate, I specifically informed Mr. and Mrs. Mercer. That evening, I brought Jonah and the letter of understanding to the Mercer family for dinner. Nowadays, I could only eat a small meal, not to mention that Jonah felt justified in keeping a closer eye on me. MRS Mercer grabbed my hand and asked with a smile, Erica, when do you want to have the wedding part? Let me know in advance so I can prepare early. Mr. Mercer took out a pair of valuable jade pendants in the shape of a ruby. Your aunt had these pendants made for you when you turned 18, and they've been waiting for today. I accepted the pendants and thanked Mr. Mercer. Hubert was nowhere to be seen the whole time. As we were leaving the Mercer residence, I suddenly felt someone watching me from behind. When I turned around, there was no one there. What's wrong? Jonah asked me. It's nothing. Hubert stood in the darkness, holding a photo frame, almost in tears. Inside was a picture of him with a girl from his youth. That bright Erica, that willful Erica, that Erica who used to have eyes only for him, can never come back again.